How's it? Today's Tuesday, May 26th. Got some back squat stuff today. It went okay. It wasn't as good as 2 weeks ago. Definitely better than last week. But um, yeah, more of the same. Last week I went to 285, and this week I went to 295. And I think in 2 weeks from now, maybe even just next week, Steve wants me to go for a 305 pause back squat. I'm trying to keep a little bit of tempo in there because I feel when I just descend haphazardly, I just get out of position way too quick, and it's just not a fun time for anyone involved, especially me. So, yeah. A few notes about training today. I figured it out on the last set, literally the last set of all of my squats today. There's just like kind of forward tilt that I get as I'm descending, and that helps me keep my hips on top of my heels. And I think that's how I was squatting 2 weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure, but it helped a lot today. And it's a shame that I only figured it out on my last rep, or my last set, sorry. So after I did all the, some warm-ups, hip warm-ups, hamstring warm-up, I started doing my back squats. So basically, it's work up to a heavy single of 295 with some back offsets. These back offsets were a little bit different than last week. Last week I did 3 sets of 3 at 255 after a single at 285. And today I did 3 sets of 5 at 245 after a single of 295. So some progression either way. Higher volume and higher intensity overall today. So one thing to see here is I am maintaining a really upright posture as I descend, and I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with that. Like my hips don't hurt when I do that, but as it gets heavier, I can't maintain that upright upper back nearly as much as I can if I get this forward tilt that I'm talking about. So this one here looks kind of funny, right? Like I'm almost upright the whole way down, and I push, and like again, like I said, that doesn't hurt, but it is hard to maintain. That's just the biggest problem. You can see here I'm starting to falter. I was 245, here was 275, and then I go up to 295. You can see that my hips wanted to kind of shift further back, um, and I did my best to counteract that. So I move into my down sets here at 245. I think there's this idea that if I can lean forward and push up with my upper back into the bar, so lean forward while keeping my chest up, I think that'll put me in a better position overall for the squat. Um, all that postural changes have to be kept in mind with keeping my hips kind of as close to my heels as possible by pushing my knees out forward. So one thing that I noticed that I was doing when I was doing these squats was any type of knee valgus, any type of minor amount of knee valgus, I really felt it in my hip. It's really not as bad as it used to be, but it never hurt in the past. So now I think it's more pertinent for me to maintain knees out and keep my squat going nicely. So here you see that the little lean forward. That's the thing I'm talking about. I do it again here. If I could do that lean forward while maintaining my chest up, I think that's the recipe. Yeah, overall, today was better than last week, for sure. It's not as good as 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago felt like there's nothing really wrong with my hips, and I'm okay with that, you know. Um, as long as I go progress from 1 week to the next week, it doesn't matter to me that if I go backwards a couple weeks, you know. So I finished up with a ton of different accessories. So this was just to kind of get full range of motion through my hips and my knees for the belt squat. I did 45 pounds. I think last week I only did 35 pounds. One thing that I think that is super important when I get the chance is to start doing back extensions again, because I have this weird idea in my head that some of the reasons why my hip started to hurt was because I wasn't getting as much hip extension that I normally do when I was training before. I moved into some overhead presses. This is 135 for 5 sets of 5. Last week I did 130 for 4 sets of 5 and then one set of 3 or something. And today was a little struggle, but I am pretty proud that I was able to do it. It's been a long time since I've been able to do 5x5 at 135. I moved into some dips here, pretty standard. And then I do some barbell squat jumps. Last week I did 85 pounds, and this week I did 95 pounds. Steve said to try to push the accessories if I can, but it's not the biggest thing on the list because my lifts are going up in intensity, so that will increase the overall training workload. And um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Shoots.